Hi, it's Stephen here from the Sound of an Ocean Wave, and this is day 18 of the March Daily Draws. So let's see what message we get today, and I'll be taking the first card, once again, from the Ostara Tarot, followed by an oracle card from the Scenes of the Witch Ostara Oracle. So let's choose our first card and get the reading underway. Okay, here we go. We have the Wheel of Fortune here. The Wheel of Fortune signifying that the constant thing about life is things change, things move on. The wheel of the year moves on. We're going further and further into the year. Time doesn't stand still. Things keep moving. Things change. Things go up and down, ebb and flow. The ocean, sound of the ocean wave. The ocean itself ebbs and flows. The tides going, it comes in and out, and it's all part of nature, cycles, different things, endings, beginnings. Everything changes up and continues to move around. So we need to accept that circumstances change. Our life will change. People will change. We will change. Everything changes. We may not like change, but we can't stop it. We can't, particularly with things outside of our control. Things will change whether we like it or not. Instead of trying to resist the change, or let me take a step back there. There are occasions where things in the world seem to be wanting to change to a certain way. And from a social perspective, and we can try and resist that change. We can protest it. We can do what we can to, if we think it's a bad change. Yes, there is a context within which we can try to avert disastrous change, particularly, without getting too deep into it, changes in society that are not going to be pleasant for certain groups of people, and we feel that it's wrong, it's morally wrong, and we want to resist that change. So we go protesting, we sign petitions, and things like that. But that's like a collective thing where we all have to stand together to bring about social change. But only in that context is it even possible to affect change for the better, or to stop bad change from happening, or to roll it back, or to protest about it. That is one context where we can do something about it. But you see the key here. But there are certain things we can't change. We can't change what when we get up, what weather the day, what weather is today, or tomorrow. When we get up tomorrow, whatever weather it is, whether it's raining, whether the sun's shining, whether it's snowing, whether there's a storm, whether it's windy, we can't do anything about that. That is part of nature. It's beyond our control. And yes, there's the whole bigger issue of climate change, and whether or not you need to make changes to that to make the weather a bit more less wild, as it were. That's a different matter. But as I say, as individuals, we can't change that. There are things, and we're talking now things within our own individual lives that we can't change. There are things happening around us that we can't, as individuals, cannot readily change. That And so if we try and resist, it just makes the change harder. The easiest thing to do with change is to go with it. All those other caveats that I've mentioned aside, this is not that kind of change. The change in ourselves, in our own personal life, is if there's nothing we can do about it realistically, then we need to know how to adapt to the change. We can choose, and we have the control to determine how we respond to the changing things around us. That we can determine, and that's the key here. That's the key here, because there was a clue to that in the caveat, the exception that I mentioned, where there's that collective protest, where it's sometimes possible to protest enough with a large enough number of people and social power, we can change things for the better or stop things from happening. But we didn't necessarily change the change itself. We changed how we responded to it, and our response is what created the energy to push the change back. So, and that's on a collective, more sort of community scale. As individuals, how we respond affects how the change will work for us or not. So we need to be adaptive to changing energies and changing circumstances. We need to, what's the word? Yes, adapt. We need to be adaptable. We need to be able to change things up with the changes in order to continue on our creative journey. So maybe some idea that we had for creatively speaking, maybe circumstances are not conducive to that anymore. Maybe things have changed since we had that idea, but maybe we can adapt it into a way that we can work. So we need to change the way we do things to work with that, to adapt to that. So I think it's this quality of adaptability that this card is speaking to us about. And to recognize that things do change, things do keep moving, cycles continually happen, there are always endings, and then there's the process from an ending to a new beginning, and that goes around again through the process, back to the ending again, and then a new beginning, and so on. So things are always moving forward, and we have to move with it if we're to keep up and use the energy to create what we need to create. Okay, let's see which oracle card we get to go with that. Ostara, where we could get the term, the god is Ostara, where we get Ostara and Easter from. In the darkest of hours, when all seems to be lost, comes the magic of light. Sometimes when we're going through a dark time, we think, that's it, I'm done for, there's nothing else to do. And then we get to the end of that cycle and the wheel moves on. And all of a sudden, there's a break of light, there's a new day. And just when we think it's over, there's a new beginning, there's a new light. And it's like when we're coming up to spring, the end of spring comes. The end of winter comes and the spring begins. The winter comes to an end and the spring begins, and things begin to grow again and to bloom forth, and there's that abundance of nature starts to spring forth. And that's what happens when the wheel turns. So let's recognize that things change, cycles end and begin, and let's adapt with it as those changes happen so that we can keep being the most creative that we can in whatever circumstance we find ourselves. Okay, so that is today's message. I'll be back tomorrow with day 19. Until then, thank you for listening. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again very soon. Okay, bye-bye.